Hello, my name is Peter Tsonev, and I'm the head of machine learning and technologies here at Crafty Apes. Today I'm going to talk a little bit on the topic of AI, what our philosophy is on it and its place in visual effects, how we've worked on deploying it through the company and our VFX processes, how it's changing production, the benefits and downfalls of AI, and also what we believe AI will do for the future. But before I truly dive into that, I want to talk a little about who Crafty Apes is. We're a company that was founded by artists, and that always remains at our core. Whenever evolution and change is happening to industry, especially as big as AI, it's something that we welcome and challenge. We push every artist and individual here to grow, to ask why, adapt with change, and truly push the status quo. We give them an environment to thrive in, and that makes us really flexible and agile. But all of this comes from a place of care about our artists and our work, because without any of the individuals that make up this company, we want to be able to push out the work that we push out, and especially the quality that we do. It's something that whenever we were working on deploying AI through the company, we wanted to keep that, and we wanted to retain everything that makes this culture. Because changes like this shouldn't change who we are. We should just grow with them. And speaking of which, let me show you who we are, and then let's get into the topic of AI. All right, now that you know more of who we are and what we do, I'm going to get into the topic of AI. In this section, I'm going to talk about our philosophy on it and its place in visual effects. I'll cover what it means for creativity and visual effects, what it means for our artists, and also the pitfalls and challenges of it. Well, currently there's a lot of legitimate concerns around AI that are not too dissimilar to 3D whenever that was coming into fruition. When 3D was coming about, there was a lot of concerns about how it's going to affect the market, how it's going to affect jobs. And as we can see, it has become a crucial part of the industry and the world as a whole, allowing a lot of people to express themselves in different ways, providing a lot of new opportunities, and also becoming a staple in the film industry. Now, AI is definitely under those same trends, and the concern around it is legitimate. It's going to affect the market and it's going to affect what film and the industry looks like as a whole. But that's where our responsibility lies, to create an environment for our artists where they can learn and adapt, one that allows them to thrive in the future and be successful wherever they go. So what does AI mean for the creative process and visual effects as a whole? Well, first off, it's allowing for a lot more content to be made that previously wasn't possible. It's allowing for stories to be brought to life in new and inventive ways, and is providing some graceful solutions to problems that we've previously had. Now, as a post house, you're usually kind of stuck at the back of the line, a lot of times waiting for earlier creative decisions to be made before you can truly stretch your legs and shine. This a lot of times doesn't allow for too much time to be inventive, and there's other technical solutions that always need problem solving before you can really stretch your artistic legs. Now, AI has allowed for a lot of new opportunities in this field for us to jump earlier in the process and be part of the creative solutions from the start. It's also solving some of the problems that we have technically, and that's usually challenging for us, that is time consuming, and it's giving us a lot more availability to the creative process as a whole. This is giving us new chances to shine, and in general for our artists to truly be artists again. Which brings me into, what does AI bring for the artists? And this is where I'm truly the most excited about, because there's a lot of misconception around the topic, and I hope that what I speak about right now can clear this up for a lot. As an artist, and myself being one, we spend so much time struggling to problem solve and solve technical issues, do monotonous tasks such as roto and keying, and we never get to be as creative as we want to be. We've come into this industry as artists to create beautiful work and present pieces to everybody to enjoy. Yet, most of the times we're technicians, and that's just no fun for anybody. Now, that's not going to change completely. There's still going to be quite plenty of that. But AI is there to solve some of those problems and automate some of those tasks. Now, it won't always do them gracefully, and that's where those pitfalls and challenges that I discussed will come in hand, but it will do some of the grunt work that we're trying to do. And it'll give us some more time for that artistic side. Not only that, but so much of us work so much overtime to make movies look great, and it's because we're passionate about it. But sadly, it's an industry of young people, and that's because it's so tasking and stressful on everybody. I'm hoping that with the introduction of AI, and I'm seeing it already in our company, we should have a lot more opportunities to solve these issues and allow for artists to have a better life in general and enjoy time with their families, but also have a much more fun process in the movie making experience. And art is just such a dynamic process full of individual creativity, historical influences, and cultural inspirations that AI is just not going to be able to substitute the human input out of that. However, it will be a great tool to have in our toolbox, and it'll allow us to improve quality of both our content and our lives. And this brings me to the pitfalls and challenges of it. There is quite a lot of those. Just to start, creating repeatability is extremely difficult. We strive for quality from frame to frame in motion, and the temporal consistency and the resolution of AI tools is just not there yet. So that's a daily challenge for us that we need to solve and figure out how using these tools can actually slot into our workflows to make them beneficial instead of to the quality standards that we require. On top of that, the legal issues behind licenses, figuring out which ones we can use, what models we can grab and deploy, that's a whole nother endeavor on its own. And once we bring those into production, there's the whole aspect of how do we make these available for artists so they can slot into their daily workflows and they can actually be functional and help them out with their work rather than sit there as a novelty. That's another aspect of challenges that we need to solve. That's just the artist perspective. There's all of production as well to discuss. Because with the arrival of new technologies such as AI, it's our responsibility to ensure that all likeness and IP are respected. We need to train our teams in security and infringement laws, and we also absolutely must know where all of our training material is derived from and that it has permissions of all parties that are relevant. It's something we pride ourselves in, but in visual effects, capturing absolute perfection of likeness has always been a goal. And AI is allowing us to make this more achievable and more affordable, and we'll continue to do that responsibly as we have previously. So in summary, any technological advancement that comes along the way, such as AI, will no doubt change the market. But it has the ability to improve the movie making process as a whole and allow us to be more creative across the board. It is a supplemental tool for our artists, but one that will definitely solve technical issues and monotonous tasks and allow them for more creative and artistic solutions to be focused on. It will also improve their daily livelihoods and allow them to thrive in the future. And as far as production, it's our job to educate everybody and ensure a thoughtful process that respects likeness and IP. It has the ability to improve collaboration across the board and provide a better and more creative movie making experience as a whole. All right, now that we have discussed how AI can help us creatively and our philosophies on it, I'm going to jump into our approach into deploying it into our company and processes. In this section, I'm going to discuss our strategies and understanding limitations, our deployment process, our education and production challenges, and also how we foster the mindset of the future. Now, let's get into our strategies, understanding limitations, and what our thought process behind deploying AI in our company was. Before I dive into this, I want to discuss the technology adoption curve, since it's quite crucial to the process. And I specifically want to focus on the first 3 parts of it. Now, those are your innovators, your early adopters, and your early majority. This is very important because it explains the mentality behind how technology is adopted. So as we talk about it, it's kind of going to explain our thought processes on how we wanted to deploy AI in the company. So the first part of it, of the technology adoption curve, is your innovators. Those are the people that go against the grain. They're the first ones to take on a new tech, experiment with it. They're not afraid to fail with it. And as long as they're excited about the tech, they're going to be trying it out and promoting it. They're very easy to jump on board, and it's going to be your very first reliable people that you're going to have when deploying new tech. Now, the second group, they're a bit more conservative, your early adopters, but they're just as excited about new technology. However, they like to hit the ground running. They want to experiment with it after having a little bit of information about it. They want to know what it can do, and that's what excites them. So as long as you can provide what it's capable of, they're going to be on it, and they're going to be ones to play around with the tech. They also like to be a bit more successful with it, and that's where that conservative nature comes from. And then you have your early majority. This is where a bulk of the people will be, and those will be the people where they're going to want a solution to a problem. They're going to want to see how this tech can benefit them before they can use it. So in order to capture them and in order for them to start adopting it, you need to have something that's going to solve their day-to-day problems. And say with VFX, if you have a solution for roto and you provide that solution, people will be ready to jump on board. But if you have something that could potentially solve roto, then you're probably going to have most of your early adopters and innovators that are going to be involved with that sort of tech to try and figure out how to solve the problem. This is very important to think about because you can drop in something as big and new as AI and expect it to just launch off. The technology curve allows us to understand the adoption habits and figure out solutions for those. We have to start by analyzing the problems within the company, how to solve some of those, where AI is going to benefit, what sort of education will we need to elevate everybody and bring them to the level where they can use it, and also how are they all going to access it. And it can also be summed up in a few points that we started to tackle, and those were accessibility, ease of use, and application. Because if nobody can access it, then there's no usage of it. Unless you have your innovators or early adopters really digging into it, most people won't be involved with it. If it's too complicated to use, we're standing under the same issue. And then the application part, it's really what captures the early majority. That's where you're showing solutions to problems all across the board, to their daily painstakes. And coming from an artist background, I was quite familiar with a lot of those. So we knew what levels we needed to reach in order to show solutions and get everybody across the board to understand AI and start applying it in their day-to-day work. So going into deployment, we had quite a few things to think about. All right, let's start digging into this. What I like to do is work in reverse. Let's start with application. Since application is our first goal that we want to reach, It'll allow for the early majority and a good chunk of the company to start adopting the tech, and it's going to bring in a lot of people's interests and start solving problems across the board. Also, application allows us to analyze very quickly the problems in the shots that we're producing and how we can make them either more efficient or provide better solutions to them. Since that is one of our big goals and what we want to focus on, we can start categorizing the work and the applications that go with that work. So we started by putting in different categories such as effects, 3D, 2D, roto, wherever we can help, face replacements, which was a big chunk of the work that we were doing as well, where we've already started experimenting with some of the tools and doing some R&D on. We created all these categories and started doing R&D and research and trying to first figure out if there's potential solutions to those that we can actually bring into fruition, and then allow for people to apply and either make their work more efficient and faster or provide them new methods of reaching better results. So with these categories in place, it allows us to very quickly understand the applications that we can have. For example, with 3D, we can be making models and generating those. With 2D, we could be helping with in-paint, out-paint, roto, keying, face replacements. These applications gave us starting points for our R&D to understand what the limitations are, because those limitations guided where those applications are actually feasible and what we want to tackle. And for example, with face replacements, temporal consistency was a big issue, but we knew that it would improve the speed at which we can do face replacements. And we had solutions for the temporal consistency aspect of it, where it would allow us more time to actually fix those issues. But with those limitations, we also were able to understand if certain concepts were just not there yet to the pixel quality that we need, and were something that we needed to put off to the side for later development. This gave us a very clear marker of what we wanted to tackle first, and what were the first initial goals that would be helpful for shot production and the company as a whole, and how we can go about those. This led us into the ease of use. Now, there is no ease of use without accessibility, but that was definitely one of the goalposts that we would have to tackle first, and we knew we'd get into it. However, we first needed to understand the usability of everything and how easy it will be for artists to grasp it. Now, this is a multi-step process. It's not just about how easy a tool is to use, it's also about how easy it is to access the education for it. And how easy is it to digest that education? And that is our goal here at Crafty. We want to elevate everybody and bring everybody to the next level. And it's not about creating a specialty of artists. It's about democratizing education. And we knew that this education was highly important in order to get everybody to be able to use the tools. And it was a key component of our deployment process that we had to create. Now, with the understanding of two of our key steps of application and ease of use, once we had that idea and what we would need to do in order to achieve it, we then started to analyze accessibility. And this was the big major one. How is everyone going to be able to use all of these tools? Well, we knew that we couldn't just drop them onto machines and disrupt their day-to-day production. We had shots to output and we're very fast-paced at our work. And so we needed a solution that would encompass that. What we came up is remote machines. This allowed us to have a group of nodes that were completely separated from everybody else that we can provide an AI environment in. We could drop in artists, expose them to all of the new tools, experiment, R&D with, and it also then gave usability to everybody without disrupting their actual machines that they work on. This gave very easy access for everybody and a very easy way for the innovators and early adopters to jump on board and start playing with these tools, experimenting with them, and also promoting them. This is a major step in the developmental process and the deployment process. Getting these functioning machines in these environments going basically freed us up to be able to expand all these tools across the company without disrupting anybody, and allowed us to also create afterwards a great education process. That way everybody is able to level up and start using the tools and easily deploy them across the board into the day-to-day work. Well, let me now show you a little demo of what we deployed in-house for our artists in the environment that we've created for them. And that will lead me afterwards into the education and how we've gone about handling that. Let's get started. All right. Well, here we're looking now at our ML launcher. This is basically the cornerstone of our deployment process, and it's giving us a ton of opportunities for us to explore and deploy ML tools and expand further on both education and application and all the processes that I've discussed. Now, what's key to this is that we have one general launcher, but this is linked to a bunch of remote machines. So if I were to select an app like this one, have a bunch of options of different machines that I can choose. What's great about this is that this is in no way linked to the current machine that I'm on. So I could be doing shot work, and in the meantime, I can connect to another machine and start exploring some of the ML tools that we have. We can also deploy different tools to different machines, such as Koya, where we have training. If I were to open up a machine right now, we have all the different training scripts that are going to load into here, and we can start setting up a training run going. We can use apps like A1111 on other machines. And one of the ones that we use quite a lot is Comfy. So we have a lot more remote machines to that. But we do have capabilities to distribute wherever the need lies. Now, this allows us for a quick connection to the browser. And I'm going to show here right now a few demos with Comfy and what we're able to do and some of the applications that we use it in. So with just a quick click, I can go into any remote machine that I choose. And within that remote machine, there could be setups, or I can load a default or clear whatever's in there. For example, right now I've got the default loaded. I can easily queue that up, and then this will get my prompt going. And this is just a quick little demo internally, even for artists, just with a basic setup in Comfy in order to get a stable diffusion output going. Now, while that's loading, for example, if I want to go to a different machine, I already had one previously loaded up, but let's say we weren't in this one, or we were coming into it. Let's say I was doing work on it. I can come back to that machine very easily. So that was 211. If I connect to it, I had a little mirror ball set up over here that we use to generate HDRI maps. I can come into this one, run this one as well. And this is going to give me now an option to do either multiple workflows and explore different processes. We can also have collaboration between artists, where if we have a lot of artists that are working with Comfy or any of the tools, all of it auto queues up so they can actually be on a single machine and use that environment seamlessly. It'll queue them up and it'll run through the different queue options, and then it'll output for each artist independently because it's all linked to the browser. So they have a UI that they can keep on working in and exploring without any interruptions. But it also gives you access to multiple machines like this, where I can now run multiple different tests and explore different workflows and experiment with ideas, while also still having access to my machine to continue doing work day to day. Now over here, we've generated a little HDRI ball. Now we can try and use this for either relighting a scene or whatever we need. We can pick out different seeds based off of the image. It'll generate different textures for the HDRI ball and then give us different environment lightings. But this has been highly useful for relighting scenes, and maybe we're doing crowd work. It has been used for that as well. So tons of uses there. And in the meantime, let's say an artist is learning Comfy and starting off, they have a nice little default setup that they can test out with. We can change prompts over here, and we have full Comfy usage internally. Now, what's interesting about this is that we went into that usability that I was discussing. And while this is extremely great and it offers us full usability of Comfy, where's the ease in this? Well, We provide education, which is one, and we provide workflows. So those are a few different ways to tackle the ease of use. But another way is providing a similar environment to what our artists work in. And that environment is Nuke. So a solution to this, rather than either adapting Comfy to Nuke or providing other material within Comfy, one unique solution that we have come up with is actually creating a node that uses Comfy as a backend. And this isn't rewriting the nodes to be functional within Nuke and look exactly like Comfy, but this is giving a familiar workflow style via gizmos to our artists, something that they've worked with before, and exposing them to use the power of AI as a backend process. So for example, over here, I have spawned one of the nodes and I'm using it just for simple prompting, just for this demo, but we have an alien fish underwater. Let's do kittens playing with a yarn ball. We'll click render over here. And now what's cool about this is that the artist still needs to know what all these seeds and steps and prompts mean, but they don't necessarily need to be facing this script right here, something that's completely unfamiliar to them. Also with a bunch of other parameters that are exposed here, which they might not be using. So this Comfy node within Nuke gives us an environment where they have something familiar with a bit of restriction on what parameters are there, which they're not fully restricted because you can still see every single parameter within there, but they have a much easier UI to work with, and they can learn the core steps of the process. And after they're comfortable with it, they can actually go and use these scripts and explore them within Comfy themselves and learn more from there. So it gives a nice stepping stone of introduction for us to explore. And the cool thing is I can take this right here, and just to show that it's exactly what's going on in Comfy, I'll take this exact same prompt that I have, and we can put it into this simple setup that I have over here, which is the same one that's used as the backend setup for Nuke. And I'll plug in that prompt. I'll make sure that my seed matches. So let's see what seed we have within Nuke, 5711498. And then if I go back to Comfy, we've got that going. So I'll queue this up just so we can have a comparison between the two. But this should give me the same result as in Nuke, since they're both running the same thing. So there we go. We have the same kittens, same image output. Now, this is great because we can make multiple workflows and also have full usability of every machine. And we can actually distribute the work between machines. So if we have multiple workflows over here, let's say I'm generating prompts on one machine, I can go on another machine right here. And this one's a bit of a different one. This one has loaded in a depth workflow. So I'm going to use this to generate a depth map. Now I'm using machine 255 right here, and I'm going to use machine 277 over here. Let's switch to a fresh new one. Let's go to 282. We'll click render and we'll pick a frame. I've set this one up to render at frame 1001. I'll click render there. And now this is going to render the background, and it's going to output a file that's going to populate within here. And once this is done, I'm going to have a depth map for this image right here. Now I'm able to take this node, and if I want to, I can duplicate them. I can set up different machines to have different outputs. Or if I'm rendering a sequence, I can actually just quickly set up within Nuke my different machines and different frame ranges, and very quickly through Nuke use Comfy to render out sequences and essentially create a mini farm. Further goals, we're going to automate this and just have auto distribution through everything. But this gives us a nice stepping stone to have both a similar environment and also full-fledged capability of any implementation that we can do within AI via Nuke. So if I go quickly over here and just reload this, I now have a depth map generated for the image that I fed into there. Now, these are all the different capabilities that we have within our environments currently. What this deployment and setup that we have done allows us to do now is go further into our application process that I've discussed and explore and provide apps within here linked to different remote machines that can do different aspects such as integration within Maya and provide texturing and provide 3D model generation for a 3D team with a lot easier use of access. And they can have a similar environment like the Nuke one, except let's say in Maya, they can have Comfy as a backend to generate different projections or textures or whatever they need. So this sort of deployment that we've initiated and started gives us a lot of expandability, and it gives us a lot of different ways to inject AI in our processes and also educate people freely without interrupting any of our work, and also provide large power and distribution whenever we need to tackle big AI tasks that require a lot of frame processing. We now have that capability. So with all of this, I'm going to now move on to education, and we're going to discuss the rest of our deployment. All right, let's get into talking some education because it's a big one. You can have a perfect deployment process, offer every single tool that every artist wants, but without any education, no one's going to be exposed to those tools and no one's really going to apply them. Apart from your early adopters and your innovators who are going to mess around with the tools, a lot of other people will be too intimidated to touch them and most likely will just ignore them. And it's part of Crafty's goal always to educate everybody and to have everyone on a next level altogether across the board. We don't want to have any specialized teams working with these tools. We want everybody across the company to be comfortable and to be able to collaborate together and grow together and be creative as one. So education was very, very important for us, and we put a very high focus on it and a lot of planning on how we would execute it properly. Our number one goal was distribution of information. And we have a lot of ways of doing that, but what we decided on taking on was deploying a wiki. What we liked about the wiki is the fact that we can have multiple users collaborating across it. We could share resources very easily from the outside and provide information a lot faster. It just had a lot better usage for us, and the collaboration aspect truly allowed us to expand all the resources fast enough for everybody to use and also to get faster education across the company. We also trained show-specific teams. What this meant is whenever we had a show-specific task that required AI, we would go in and train a team to execute it. They would learn the software and tools required, and they would be later able to educate their teammates on how to use it as well. This training and exposition combo allowed us to very quickly go through shows and expose people to the AI tools that we have and allow artists to learn a lot faster from their teammates and just inspire that collaboration across the board. Another type of training that we offered was group-based training. So in this, we involved categorizations of type of work that people did. We would get producers all together, we would get compositors all together, supervisors and such, and we would teach them as one on what all of the new verbiage was and what AI brought to the table, how we're using it, and what the future looked like with it. This allowed us to bring everybody else that was involved in the production process on board and understanding of what we're working with. And this also led to the very apparent fact that we needed to do some education across production as well with our clients. We had to rebuild trust, show them the new process, and explain how this tech works and educate them in the new methods that we use. For something like face replacements, which we traditionally did, and we use 3D scans, we still use scans today for the training data, but it's processed differently. And we had to show them and build up that trust on the security behind the entire process and training, how we gather the material and how it's being used, and also what the new expectations of the final product are. There was also the belief that our work is automated and it has just become easier. And it's not that simple. Yes, there is automations in places and certain aspects could be easier and faster. It could allow for more quantity or better quality, but to actually guarantee that quality, we still had so much more that we had to do in prep and in comp in order to fix all the issues that there is with AI. So that was something that we truly had to communicate to the clients and get across the board. To sum it all up, by understanding the technology adoption curve, we're much better able to plan and strategize on how to deploy AI here at Crafty. By tackling the 3 points of application, ease of use, and accessibility, we're able to spread AI usage and knowledge way faster across the board. The remote machines provide a perfect environment for training, exploration, R&D, adoption, and just general usage of AI for everybody here at Crafty. Education remains our topmost priority. We're here to elevate all of our artists and their knowledge, spark creative growth and passion, and that's how we foster the mindset of the future.